A billionaire woman goes to visit her son's grave and comes upon a black waitress who's weeping with a child beside her. The sight leaves her stunned. A gentle November drizzle soaked the cemetery, painting a sorrowful backdrop as Victoria Blackwood encountered a moment that would forever transform her life. Right there, before the marble monument marking her son Adrian's resting place, stood a young black woman wearing a waitress uniform, clutching a small child as both wept, like the world had collapsed. Victoria halted in her tracks, her gloved fingers tightening around a bouquet of white lilies. At 55, the reigning matriarch of the Blackwood Industries fortune, she had never laid eyes on these two strangers. But something in the young woman's stance and in the delicate lines of the boy's face sent her heart thundering without explanation. "Pardon me," Victoria spoke, her voice slicing through the cemetery's hush like a blade. "This is a private moment. You're not supposed to be here." Lifting her tear-streaked face, the young woman blinked reddened eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone would come today." Her words shook, yet carried an unexpected dignity that caught Victoria off guard. "And who exactly are you?" Victoria demanded, her steely business instincts instantly engaged. "Why are you standing at my son's grave, crying?" The child, a boy around 4 years old, peered up at Victoria with vivid green eyes. The same eyes Victoria had stared into in her mirror for decades. The same eyes as Adrian's. "My name's Jasmine Washington," the young woman said, swiping away her tears with the back of her hand. "And this is Tyler. I work over at Bell's Diner in town. Come here every month because..." She hesitated, glancing at the boy. "Because Adrian meant a lot to us." Victoria felt the ground sway beneath her feet. Adrian had died 3 years prior in a car crash at age 28, shattering every hope she'd placed in the Blackwood family legacy. She'd scrutinized every detail of his life in the aftermath, desperate to extract meaning from his death. Had she unearthed any sign of a serious relationship, much less a child? Meant a lot in what way? Victoria pressed, her voice dropping lower. The rainfall grew heavier, but none of the trio stirred. Jasmine locked eyes with Victoria, her expression radiating a bravery that surprised the billionaire. "Because Tyler is his son," Jasmine declared, "and because I promised Adrian I'd always look after him, no matter what." The bouquet fell from Victoria's grip, the lilies scattering across the cold, rain-drenched stone. 3 years. For 3 years she had mourned Adrian, convinced her bloodline had perished with him. 3 years. Only to now discover she had a grandson, black grandson, being raised by a waitress and living a life Victoria could scarcely imagine, yet there was something guarded in Jasmine's eyes. A cautious glint hinting at secrets deeper than merely Tyler's existence. What Victoria couldn't yet know was that this revelation was merely the first thread of a much bigger tangle of lies and betrayals involving people intimately connected to her. And that beneath Jasmine's vulnerable surface lay a fierce strength, about to shake the very foundations of Victoria's privileged existence. If tales of family revelations and long-hidden truths captivate you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow how a fleeting encounter in a graveyard would spiral into the most profound upheaval in one of the nation's most powerful women's life. 2 weeks after that graveside confrontation, Victoria had converted her private library into a hub of investigation. Reports from private detectives were spread across the polished, century-old mahogany table, each page unveiling details of Jasmine Washington's background that disturbed her more and more. Single, no known relatives, worked 60 hours weekly. At 2 different jobs just to support her kid, Victoria murmured, flipping through document after document. Lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in a rundown part of town, no education beyond high school. David Chen, her personal assistant, stood silently near the armchair. He had witnessed Victoria obliterate entire corporate empires with less emotion than she was exhibiting now. What about the boy's mother? Victoria demanded, her icy blue gaze fixed on a grainy photograph of Tyler playing in a public park. That's where things get interesting, David replied, opening another folder. There's no birth certificate, no hospital records, no official trace of who gave birth to Tyler. It's as if his biological mother doesn't exist. Victoria drummed her fingers on the tabletop, a gesture her executives had learned to dread. 3 years ago, after Adrian's death, she'd meticulously investigated every second of his life, searching for any clue to explain his loss. She'd never found evidence of any serious romantic ties. Set up a meeting with this Jasmine, Victoria ordered, pronouncing the name like it was an alien word. My office. Tomorrow. 2 o'clock. The following day, Jasmine stepped into the towering headquarters of Blackwood Industries, wearing her best and only suit, purchased from a second-hand store. The 60-story skyscraper loomed over her, its mirrored glass walls reflecting back a warped image of her own face. Victoria greeted her in the top-floor office, panoramic views of the city stretching behind her like a throne. It was a deliberate display of authority, and both women understood it. Sit down, Victoria directed, gesturing toward a chair set deliberately lower than her own. We need to discuss Tyler. I'd rather stand. Jasmine replied evenly. Thank you, as you wish. Victoria opened a folder on her desk. I've conducted a thorough investigation into your life, Miss Washington. 2 jobs, no financial security, living in conditions utterly unsuitable for raising a child. Tyler is loved and well cared for, Jasmine responded, her voice steady but resolute. Victoria offered a thin smile that failed to reach her eyes. I'm sure you do your best. But a child bearing the Blackwood name deserves more than your best. He deserves the absolute finest the world has to offer. And what are you proposing exactly? $200,000, Victoria said, sliding a check across the table. That's just to start. Tyler comes to live with me, receives the kind of education and future Adrian would have wished for him. You'd be allowed visitation. On weekends, naturally. Jasmine stared at the check as if it might bite her. Are you trying to buy my child? He's not your child, Victoria shot back, her polished facade beginning to fracture. He's my grandson, my own blood. And let's be honest, a waitress in her 20s cannot possibly provide him with what a family like ours can. Family, Jasmine echoed with a humorless laugh. Victoria May. I call you Victoria. You want to talk about family? Tyler has called me mom for 3 years. I'm the one who comforts him when nightmares wake him. I'm the one who teaches him math at the kitchen table. I'm the one who reads him bedtime stories. That's what family is. Victoria rose, her figure towering over Jasmine. Such sentimental ideals, but reality is harsh. You work yourself to the bone just to pay rent that devours half your income. Tyler deserves private schooling, global travel, and opportunities you could never hope to offer. And he deserves unconditional love, Jasmine shot back. Which is something you clearly never gave your own son. The silence was suffocating. Victoria felt as if she'd been struck. How dare you? Adrian told me about you, Jasmine continued quietly, her words sharp as blades. About the meetings you skipped, the football games you missed, the birthdays where you sent expensive gifts through assistants. You don't want Tyler out of love. You want him because he's your chance at redemption, a way to ease your guilty conscience, not because you genuinely care. Victoria clenched her fists. You don't know anything about me. Ow. Jasmine said, but I knew your son. I know exactly why he never told you about Tyler. Jasmine took the check and ripped it in half, the fragments fluttering to the floor like withered petals. Tyler isn't for sale. Then we'll handle this the hard way, Victoria growled, her voice turning cold and dangerous. I have resources you can't begin to comprehend. Lawyers, investigators, government connections. I can prove that a single mother with no higher education, living in poverty, is unfit to raise a child. For the first time since stepping into the office, Jasmine smiled. And something about that smile made Victoria pause. Victoria, Jasmine said gently, you're assuming. I'm just some struggling waitress you can intimidate. But there are things about me, about Tyler, and about Adrian you haven't even begun to discover. And when you finally do, she paused, her eyes blazing with fierce determination. Let's just say your investigators aren't as thorough as you think. She headed toward the door, stopping only to glance back over her shoulder in Victoria. Next time you want to discuss Tyler, it'll be on my terms, not yours.
Act.
After Jasmine departed, Victoria remained alone in her office, pieces of the torn check littering the floor like fallen leaves. For the first time in decades, someone had walked out of negotiations with all the power in their hands. What Victoria couldn't comprehend was why a mere waitress radiated such quiet, unwavering confidence. It felt as though Jasmine knew something a secret, a hidden advantage that rendered all of Victoria's threats meaningless. Even more unsettling was that, for the first time in her life, Victoria Blackwood felt as if someone was studying her, peering straight through her defenses, entirely unimpressed by the formidable woman standing on the other side. 3 days after their heated encounter, Victoria received a call that left her reeling. Her longtime attorney, Richard Thornton, of the prestigious firm Thornton & Associates, sounded unusually tense, a rare occurrence in their 2 decades of working together. "Victoria, there's something I need to tell you about the custody case," he said, his voice tight. "I got a call today. It's from Miss Washington's legal counsel. She retains legal counsel." Victoria let out a laugh, tapping her fingers against the tabletop. "With what funds?" It had to be some random public defender caught off guard. "Actually," Richard hesitated, "it's Morrison, Caldwell, and Pierce. They're taking her case pro bono." Victoria nearly choked on her coffee. Morrison, Caldwell, and Pierce ranked among the top 3 law firms nationwide, renowned for civil rights litigation and for never having lost a major case. That's absurd. Why would they bother with a mere waitress? I have no idea. But there's more. They've already filed a preemptive petition asserting that any attempt to forcibly remove the child would amount to kidnapping under the law. Based on socioeconomic discrimination, Victoria slammed down the phone so hard the receiver cracked. Jasmine had just played her opening move, and it was far more powerful than Victoria had believed possible. Meanwhile, in Jasmine's humble apartment, an entirely different gathering was underway. The room was filled with people Victoria would never have imagined there. Dr. Michael Chen, Columbia University law professor, investigative journalist Amanda Torres, is known for her exposes on corporate corruption. And, at the center of it all, an elegant woman in her 50s whom Jasmine clearly treated with deep respect and affection. And Helen. "Thank you for coming," Jasmine said, embracing the woman. Helen Washington smiled, intelligence flashing in her eyes with the same spark Jasmine had shown in Victoria's office. "When you called and told me the time had finally come, I cleared my entire schedule. We've waited 3 years for this day." Nearby, Tyler played on the floor, oblivious to the gravity of the discussion unfolding around him. Dr. Chen opened a thick binder stuffed with papers and photos. "Jasmine, are you sure you're ready for this?" I asked. "Once we begin, there's no going back. Victoria Blackwood commands enormous resources and won't hesitate to use every one of them." "Dr. Chen," Jasmine answered, her voice steady and resolute. "I've been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Every night class I attended, every legal text I studied, every contact I've nurtured, it's all been to safeguard Tyler and to honor Adrienne's memory." Amanda Torres lifted her gaze from her laptop. "The evidence you've gathered is impressive, Jasmine. 3 years of meticulous documentation of Blackwood Industries' questionable practices, bribery of local officials, systematic labor abuses." Helen stepped over to the window, looking out at the modest cityscape beyond. "Victoria thinks her money shields her from any consequences. She has no clue my niece has spent 3 years tracking every single move, every illicit deal, every act of tax evasion. Aunt Helen taught business law at the University of Chicago for 3 decades. Jasmine explained to Dr. Chen. "She's the one who taught me that knowledge is the only weapon that can't be bought or stolen." Just then, Jasmine's phone rang. It was Victoria, sounding livid. "What the hell are you doing?" Victoria screamed into the line. "It's Morrison, Caldwell, and Pierce. How does a waitress land lawyers of that magnitude?" Jasmine switched the call to speaker so the entire group could hear. "Victoria, warned you there were parts of me you hadn't uncovered yet. I don't care what schemes you're pulling. Tyler is my grandson, and I have limitless resources to get what I want." "Unlimited resources," Jasmine said, glancing at her allies. "Victoria, you're assuming money is the only power that matters. But what if there's something far stronger? Not what would that be?" "The truth," Victoria let out. A derisive laugh. "Truth doesn't pay for high-priced lawyers." "You're right," Jasmine replied. But the truth about your illegal operations, how you built your empire through fake contracts and systematic bribery, that truth is worth far more than money to certain people. The silence on the line stretched painfully long. You're bluffing. Victoria finally spat out, though her voice had lost much of its former certainty. Amanda Torres from the Metropolitan newspaper would like a word, Jasmine said, handing the phone to the reporter. Good afternoon, Miss Blackwood, Amanda said in a crisp, professional tone. I'm finalizing an investigative series about suspicious corporate conduct. I'd like to offer you a chance to respond to the allegations we've uncovered. Victoria hung up without another word. Helen smiled, her pride in her niece evident. Jasmine, you've learned well. Never attack directly when you can strike from the side. Dr. Chen snapped his briefcase shut. Our legal position is sound. We have precedent where attempts to remove children solely due to economic class were ruled discriminatory. And I have 3 years' worth of evidence documenting every crooked deal Victoria ever pulled, Amanda added. Shell company contracts, suspicious payments to officials, hidden environmental damage, enough to obliterate any reputation. Jasmine lifted Tyler, who beamed innocently at the adults. What Victoria can't grasp is that I'm not just fighting for Tyler. I'm fighting a system convinced that money buys everything, even the right to tear families apart. Helen stepped closer and placed a comforting hand on Jasmine's shoulder. Your mother would be so proud of you, sweetheart. She always believed education was the one legacy no one could ever take away. Aunt Helen raised me after my parents passed away, Jasmine explained to the others. She taught me that where you start doesn't matter, only where you're headed. And that sometimes to protect what you love, you have to be prepared to go to war. The phone rang once more. This time, it was Victoria's attorney. Ms. Washington, my client wishes to propose a settlement. $500,000 in supervised visitation rights? Jasmine looked around at her allies, all shaking their heads firmly. Mr. Thornton, tell your client that Tyler is not for sale at any price, and inform her she has 48 hours to retract any legal threats against our family or come Monday morning. The Metropolitan Journal will publish a complete expose on Blackwood Industries' shady practices. And I'm certain the IRS will have a strong interest in some of the documents we've secured. After ending the call, Amanda smiled. Jasmine, are you ready for this? Once we publish, Victoria will unleash every weapon she has against you. Jasmine glanced at Tyler, now peacefully asleep in her arms. Amanda, I've lived for 3 years knowing this day would arrive. Victoria believes her fortune makes her unstoppable, but she's never gone up against someone who had time to prepare properly. Dr. Chen rose, collecting his paperwork. We'll file the legal petition. Tomorrow? Precedent is on our side. Helen kissed Jasmine on the forehead. Remember, dear, they may possess money, but we hold the truth. That night, while Tyler slept, Jasmine opened a chest in her room. Inside were diplomas from her night law school program, certificates from management courses, letters of recommendation from esteemed professors, and at the very bottom, photographs showing her with Adrian and a young woman with pale skin, a photo Victoria had never seen. It was a picture revealing not just the truth of who Tyler's mother had been, but why Jasmine had so diligently prepared for this confrontation. Victoria Blackwood was about to learn that underestimating someone can be the costliest mistake imaginable, and that sometimes the sweetest revenge comes not through brute force, but through patience, meticulous preparation, and the perfect moment to expose secrets others would do anything to keep hidden. What Victoria didn't yet realize was that the fight over Tyler's custody was merely the opening move in a far larger, conflicted battle Jasmine had been planning since the day Adrian died. A conflict poised to reveal truths capable of destroying not only Victoria's reputation, but the entire empire she'd built on deception. On Monday morning, Victoria awoke to discover 37 missed calls on her cell phone. Assistant David stood just outside her bedroom, clutching a tablet with an expression of genuine fear. Victoria, I need to see this, he said, his hands trembling as he handed her the device. The headline from the Metropolitan blazed across the screen. Empire built on corruption. Leaked documents expose decades of criminal activity at Blackwood Industries. Victoria felt her legs go weak. Beneath the headline were dozens of scanned documents revealing fraudulent contracts, illicit payments to politicians, and money laundering schemes. Each page spelled doom for her reputation. How did they get all of this? She whispered, scrolling through the article. There were photographs of secret meetings she'd believed were undetectable. Recordings of private conversations she thought had remained hidden. Her phone rang. It was Richard Thornton, her lawyer. "Victoria, it's a complete disaster," he said without preamble. "The IRS has already executed search warrants. FBI is en route to your house." And that wasn't all. The Securities and Exchange Commission had halted all trading of Blackwood Industries shares. As soon as Victoria hung up, she dialed Jasmine in a rush, her hands trembling with fury and hopelessness. "You," she yelled when Jasmine picked up. "Was this your doing? How dare you wreck my entire life?" "Good morning, Victoria," Jasmine answered, her tone serene like a peaceful Sunday dawn. "I'm assuming you've caught up on the headlines. I'm going to ruin you. I'll throw every resource I have at you." "What resources?" Jasmine gently cut in. "Guess from where I'm sitting, the news says your bank accounts were locked down about 15 minutes ago." Victoria lunged for her computer, his fingers flying over keys as she entered passwords into banking sites. "Access denied. Access denied. Access denied. This can't be happening," she murmured. Victoria Jasmine went on. "There's one detail. My investigators left out. Amanda Torres wasn't working solo. She's part of a team that specializes in financial crimes. Every single document you forged over the past 2 decades has been traced." The television flickered in the living room, showing reporters standing outside Blackwood Industries. Employees were streaming out carrying cardboard boxes, their livelihoods destroyed before noon. The name Victoria had cultivated over decades was being shredded in real time on national TV. "Why?" Victoria asked, voice cracking. "Why are you doing this to me? Because you never bothered to ask about Tyler's mother?" Jasmine replied simply. "If you had, you'd have discovered her name was Jessica Blackwood." Victoria's blood turned icy. "That's impossible. Jessica was Robert Blackwood's daughter, your cousin. The same cousin you betrayed back in 1995 to steal his stake in the family company." Old memories surged through Victoria's mind. Robert, young and full of promise, signing paperwork Victoria had doctored. The bitter family conflict she'd won through deception and scheming. His banishment from their family. Jessica grew up in poverty because of what you did, Jasmine continued. She met Adrian in college. They fell in love, but she kept her real identity secret. Terrified you'd drive her out of his life, just as you'd done to her father. Victoria faintly recalled Robert mentioning a daughter before he disappeared for good. When Jessica died giving birth, Adrian came to me in desperation. It was her best friend, and he knew Jessica's final wish was for me to look after Tyler. But Adrian also uncovered the truth about what you did to Jessica's family. Adrian knew, Victoria whispered. He spent the final months of his life investigating you, gathering proof of your crimes. When he died in that so-called accident, he left everything to me: documents, recordings, solid evidence, he told me to wait for the perfect moment. Victoria glanced out her window and saw FBI vans arriving outside her house. "The accident?" began. "It wasn't an accident," Jasmine said evenly. Adrian uncovered a money laundering operation involving dangerous people you hired to handle your problems. Those people murdered your own son, Victoria. The word struck Victoria like a gunshot. Adrian had died because he'd uncovered her crimes. In her greed, she had caused her own son's death. Tyler is the final rightful Blackwood, Jasmine said. Jessica was the legal heir to the wealth you stole. And now, with your accounts frozen and your business seized, Tyler finally has what was always meant to be his. Victoria heard the pounding of heavy boots coming up the stairs. Firm voices were shouting, "FBI!" "You've been planning this for 3 years," Victoria whispered, fully grasping the enormity of what had just unfolded. "Adrian taught me that patience is essential for revenge," Jasmine replied. "Every file I gathered, every class I took, every connection I built was all leading to this day." The door slammed open. Federal agents stormed in, arrest warrants in hand. "Victoria Blackwood, you're under arrest for tax evasion, money laundering, and conspiracy." As handcuffs snapped around her wrists, Victoria heard Jasmine's voice one last time. Tyler will grow up knowing the truth about his family. He'll understand that justice, even when it takes time, always arrives. TV cameras broadcast. Victoria being escorted away in handcuffs. Her dramatic fall was aired live to millions of viewers. The empire she'd erected on lies collapsed in just a few short hours. That same afternoon, Jasmine sat in the park beside Tyler, watching him laugh as he played on the jungle gym. Her phone buzzed. It was Helen. "Daughter, I saw the news. How are you feeling?" "Like Adrian can finally rest in peace," Jasmine answered, her eyes on Tyler as he slid gleefully down the slide. At Tyler, he'll grow up knowing that his family stood for justice, not vengeance. Victoria had learned too late that Jasmine wasn't merely a determined waitress. She was the defender of a stolen inheritance, a woman who transformed 3 years of silent strategy into the most precise execution of justice the courts had ever witnessed. 2 years later, the Millbrook Women's State Prison was a stark contrast to the penthouse office Victoria once controlled. Clad in a standard orange jumpsuit, she toiled in the laundry room for $2.50 an hour. Bitter irony, not lost on anyone. "Blackwood, we've got a visitor," a guard announced. Victoria assumed it would be her old attorney or a journalist. Instead, she found Jasmine in the visiting area, impeccably dressed in a navy suit worth more than Victoria's half-year's prison wages. "I've come with some news," Jasmine said firmly. "Tyler just got accepted to Phillips Academy, the same school Adrian attended. He earned a full scholarship." Victoria felt an unexpected spark of something like pride. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're his grandmother. And because Tyler asked me whether bad people can ever become good." Jasmine paused. "I told him it depends on whether they sincerely want to change." Jasmine opened a folder revealing photos of Tyler beaming in his school uniform. "He's learning violin just like his father. His teacher says he's a natural." "How can you afford all this?" Victoria asked. Jasmine gave a smile filled with genuine triumph. "The fortune you stole from Jessica's family was restored through the courts. Tyler is now the rightful heir to the entire legitimate Blackwood estate." "Funny how things come full circle, isn't it?" Victoria shut her eyes. "And you? What did you gain from all this?" "I gained the chance to give Tyler what you never gave Adrina, family that values love above wealth." Jasmine stood to leave. The peace of knowing that Jessica and Adrian can finally rest. "Is Tyler happy?" Victoria asked. "He's loved," Jasmine answered. "And that's all that truly matters." Meanwhile, Tyler raced across the lawn of his new home in Connecticut, a cozy house overlooking a shimmering lake. Jasmine stood on the porch, an MBA diploma framed on the wall behind her. "Mom, can I play the violin for you?" Tyler shouted, sprinting toward the house. "Of course, sweetheart," Jasmine replied, thinking how proud Adrian would have been. Helen Washington visited often, sharing family stories that Tyler listened to with pride. "And Helen taught me," Jasmine had once explained to Tyler, "that the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so wonderful that they regret not being part of it." Tyler would grow up knowing that his family fought for honor, not vengeance. That even when the world seems unjust, there's always a clever way to change the story. Victoria had tried to buy her, his grandson's affection, but learned too late that family can't be bought. It's created through love and presence. She'd lost everything because she mistook power for worth and money for integrity. Jasmine's true triumph wasn't simply destroying. Victoria was crafting a future where Tyler would never repeat the same mistakes as those who came before him, where a child would grow up knowing that identity isn't measured by skin color or bank balance, but by the strength of one's character. Victoria tried to use her wealth to steal Tyler away. She learned that real love has no price tag. Jasmine proved that determination and intelligence will always triumph over arrogance and prejudice. Have you ever encountered someone who tried to belittle your dreams because of where you come from? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to this channel for more tales proving that true family is built on love, not money.